Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Talks, where we told you authentic, unfiltered reality of the happenings in the sports and fitness industry. Today we are joined by Dr. Edson Breedy, a psychiatry resident, former Trinidad and Tobago national taekwondo team captain, founder of Edson Breedy Athletics and Aligned Aesthetics and Wellness, and mental health director at Canbu Play Foundation, which partners with the FC Barcelona Foundation to deliver youth development and mental health programs through sport. He combines sports science, mental performance, and martial arts to help athletes and everyday people reach their full potential. Dr. Breedy, it's a pleasure.
Mr. Small, thank you for having me on.
Not a problem.
Right, I love the initiative. I think sport needs more infrastructure. Needs to get infrastructure, we need exposure. We have so much talent in Trinidad and Tobago. We just need to put the right things in place, and the only way we can do that is by having these kind of conversations to connect people.
I agree. So the Canbu Play Foundation, right? You partner with the FC Barcelona Foundation. First of all, how did that happen? And before you answer that question, so what is the Canbu Play Foundation?
Okay, so the Canbu Play Foundation, founded by a few of my really good friends, former national athletes, Johan C. Marshall, Sharice Bacchus, and Julius. Oh gosh, Julius, I can't remember the last name right now. But these are all former highly esteemed athletes. So they decided, after retiring, they wanted to find a way to use the power of sport to help community. So they started Canbu Play Foundation, and they've done lots of different initiatives across the past maybe 10 years using sport, especially in at-risk communities, immigrant communities, to help use sport to build community, build self-esteem, build mental health awareness. So I've been a long-term friend with Sharice Bacchus, and she knew about my mental health background, and she wanted to get me involved in the program. And they've been doing such good work that FC Barcelona actually reached out to them, to set up a program in Trinidad and Tobago, helping at-risk youth. So one of the really great things that has made me FC Barcelona fan is that they do so much community work, right? It's not just about football and winning trophies for them. They're developing youth not just in Spain, but across the world. They have all these different programs using football and their specific program that they've developed to help athletes and help young people use sport, not just football, to build their self-esteem, help them escape dangerous situations, help them cope with dangerous situations. So
I had no idea that existed in Trinidad. So tangibly, what does that look like in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the actual where the activities take place? What does that look like?
Okay, well, Julius, Sharice, Johansi did some amazing work. They've set up a program at the St. Paul Community Center.
Okay.
Right? Where there is
at-risk.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've also partnered with the police youth program, right? And so they reach out to kids in the area, and what that looks like is that they have 2 days of sports where they play football with Johan C. Marshall. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, former national player. He's played abroad in different clubs in Mexico and other clubs. I know Julius also played for clubs abroad in Miami. So they've been delivering very high quality training, right? Sharice is also a strength and conditioning coach, so they've developed a really high quality program for these kids who might have never touched that, right?
Wow.
So they get 2 days of training, plus they get mental health support from me. So I do a 5-part series on different coping mechanisms, how to deal with emotions, how to do goal setting, how to communicate in different ways to be a productive athlete. And all these skills are really, we frame it, this is for football,
right?
Yeah. But everything translates into their real life. Yeah. So I do those group sessions, and then if we do identify someone who, because we do screening too, we do screening for depression, screening for anxiety, and if we do find out someone, hey, he's really in need of help, I might do a one-on-one session with them, or refer them to one of the public sector's great services that we have for mental health.
Right. So I want to get into like the psychiatric and biomedical, the best ways from the biochemical point of view to prepare
Yeah.
to prepare for training and for competition.
To prepare for training and for competition. Okay, let's see. Let me do preparing for training first.
Training first. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So preparing for training, first thing you have to do is you have to choose to train. Right. A lot of people are preparing for training for 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. So now I've been running my business since 2016, and I mean, there's some conversations that I have that that's still funny to me to this day, but I hear it where, boy, I want to do boxing so long, but I had to get fit before I start doing the training. But I'm going to start running. I'm going to start running this week. And then after I start running, I'll go to the gym and then I'll start boxing. I'm like, no, you don't need to prepare yourself to start training. You come to training, you're treated as a beginner. We walk you through the steps. We introduce you to the types of training that you need. Because you might go and run the savannah 10 times a week and then come in boxing class and realize you're roast.
It's a different type of fitness.
It's a different type. All the sports have different types of fitness. So when you talk about fitness, it's the ability to execute a specific set of skills, which is different for swimming, track and field, tennis. When you look at Usain Bolt, he always talks in his interview how he does do run more than a lap. The lap because he's not running more than a lap. But our old school coaches will be like, have the sprinters running 5K.
So this thing, right, is education, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why that is so for like Usain Bolt is energy systems, right? So you have three primary energy systems. You have your creatine phosphate system, you have anaerobic glycolysis, and you have aerobic glycolysis, right? Your creatine phosphate system is about 9 to 12 seconds, just about, but for a really extreme short burst of energy. So like if you need to jump, for example, right? Your anaerobic glycolysis would be for like Usain Bolt. You're sprinting 100 meters, 200 meters. And your aerobic glycolysis would be if you're running a marathon, right? Those systems, oftentimes, they don't overlap. So if you are a really good marathon runner, for example, right, you may be horrible at jumping, right? It also comes into the muscle fibers, type 1 and type 2, and all of those things also have a part to play. But that is why people like Usain Bolt would say what they need to say. So,
if you're talking about preparing for training, first thing you have to do is decide that you're going to start training, right? Or we think about the before, the during, and the after. If you're thinking about the before, you have not started training yet, think about something that you think is fun, right? That you're excited about. That's one of the first things that will help you stay motivated, right? Not everybody wants to lift weights. Not everybody wants to run. Not everybody wants to play tennis. So especially if you're an older person, I think finding a game is a really great way to get fit and start training, right? So finding a game where there are rules, someone wins, someone loses. That's
like pickleball.
Pickleball.
That's a pickleball
killing it right now.
Yeah.
So finding something that you're interested in. As an adult especially, so I'm going to kind of frame this for adults as opposed to kids, right? As adults, we're working, we have families, we have expenses, we have studying, we're doing PhD, etc. Our schedules are busy, so we have to be efficient as to what we're deciding to do. If you live in Arima and you're working in Port of Spain, it don't make sense to decide that you go into a gym in Chaguanas. Right? So think about getting to your activity either close to work or close to home to minimize your
lack of adherence.
Minimize your commute. Preparation in advance. Make sure your bag is packed. Your bag packed in your car so that when you get a chance, you could make it happen. Because at some point in time, your daughter gonna call and she had to pick up for the after school thing. Or if you say, hey, you better bring home that bread today. I was like, gosh, boy, I was going to then you have to know that, hey, at any point in time, your schedule that you put together, it could easily be destroyed. So you have to be ready for the time like, okay, I plan to go gym 5 days this week. Chances are something going to happen twice, 3 times. At least I hit twice for the at least I hit twice, right? So now when it comes to like right before training, especially if you're now starting getting involved in training, you want to make sure that you get a good night's sleep before. Try to get your 8 hours of sleep, right? So many times right now people are thinking about what substance to use, what peptide to use to amp themselves up. The most important performance enhancer is sleep. To be able to get 8 hours of sleep, that if you're doing that, you're going to be performing better than the average person.
100%.
Right? Muhammad Ali used to say how the hardest part of him becoming champion is to be able to dodgy parties, dodgy drinking, dodgy woman, and just go home and sleep in his bed by himself so he could get a good night's sleep. You know, if you have a Whoop app, I'm not sure if you just follow Whoop or whatever, Whoop does ask you, did you share your bed with anyone last night? So there's ask if you had sex, but it's ask if you share your bed. Because it affects the quality of sleep you get, right? And so make sure you get a good night's sleep. Make sure you're adequately hydrated, right? That differs based on the size of the person.
Yes.
But aim to at least get a 1.5 to 2 liters of water. I would say, right? You might correct me because I know you have a stronger sports science background than me. But at least 1.5 to 2. Understand that the hydration you have throughout the week is what is going to make you hydrated in the session that you go to. The hydration that you're having during your session is really is a psychological benefit. It's making you feel a little better, but that's not getting absorbed into your body, into your blood cells in the course of your training or session that
So
you do.
before you continue, right? On the hydration point, water alone is not enough, right? A lot of the bottled waters and stuff that we consume, there's little to no electrolytes in them, and how it basically works is as the water moves through your system, it's actually pulling electrolytes out of your cell, and the process of that is actually making you less hydrated. So I know it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, I'm drinking water, how would that make me less hydrated? Just, you need to have some sort of source, especially if you are in a sport like fighting, where most of the time you're training in a gym where it's hot, it's a lot of people, high intensity. The water alone is not going to be able to supply your and sustain your performance. Go ahead.
Right, yeah. Along the same lines, you could go and buy electrolyte supplement that you put in your water. Often not needed unless you real sweating. You are a long distance runner. You put in miles. You're doing you're doing a 10 today, a 10 tomorrow, 6 the next day, right? You're real sweating. But combat sport athletes is real sweat, right? So they might definitely need 100%. That, right? But if you're in a gym, you're lifting 3 days a week, gym AC, you barely have a stain on your shirt, right? Chances are you don't need an electrolyte supplement. If you are cramping, though, right, and you've been drinking a lot of water, which used to happen to me a lot, you can just sprinkle some salt. Sprinkle a little salt in your water. Cheapest way to go, unless you really like spending your money to feel nice, right? If you like spending money to feel nice, I have hydration salts here on sale if you feel like you need it.
Tell them where you're located so they can come and get there.
We're at 5 Abercrombie Street, St. Joseph, or you can also find us online, edsonbreedyathletics.co. And we have an online store where you could buy our products, which will be range from fitness equipment, combat sport equipment, and supplements as well, right? So now we on the right before training now, make sure you eat. Try to, if you train in the afternoon, try to have your breakfast and lunch beforehand. If you aren't, this is especially if it's your first day, right? Now starting to train, right? A lot of times people are so excited about the training, they lose their appetite, or because they're so excited they don't think they need to eat, right? Try to have something before and after, before eating, right? So now when we get to the session, right? This is especially for adults. On a long monologue here, you could clip me.
No, right? No, go ahead. I ain't cutting anything. Talk.
You get to the session. You have to approach this with a mindset of a child, right? Where you aren't taking yourself too seriously. You've done the brave thing of deciding you want to learn a new skill. You are going to be starting from scratch. You're going to be the kindergartner in the school, and you have to be okay making mistakes. And think of it as the more mistakes you make and you realize, the more likely you are to get better, right? I think about it this way. If I go to a session and I can't identify what I did wrong, or I didn't get feedback from my coach of something that was off, I said, what kind of session I had, boy?
Yeah.
I'd be asking my training partners, hey, I do this. Watch this, watch 3 reps of this and tell me what you think. Coach, what you have for me after class? My coaches all know. I have a little notebook and I just come to them after class, I'm like, hey, you have any information for me from this? What you think about that? Because I find when I do my job, it's not reaching.
Yeah.
Why my job not reaching?
Yeah.
And then so every day I have a list of things. I'm not writing a 500 word essay.
Yeah, but you have something.
Right? So then so approach it like that. Have fun during the session. Then now when we go to the after, we have to understand recovery is where improvement happens.
Yes.
Right? Not in the session.
Yes.
You're not getting better in the session.
Yes.
If you have been asked to do 20 reps of something, the chances of your 20th rep being significantly better than the first, highly unlikely, right? It is when you go home, you eat your food, take your creatine, get your protein in, and you sleep for 8 hours. While you sleep, your neurons connect and you think about what happened today and what your coach say in the notes, because you went over your notes right before you went and sleep. When you wake up the next day, new pathways are formed in your brain, and now you're a little bit better. And then when you do that the next day and the next day, that's when you start seeing progress in your performance. So that was you asked me 2 questions.
No, I asked you 2 questions, right? And you answered yes.
And answer one.
No, but wait. Yeah. This one, this is more the line. So yeah, you just basically spoke more general and for a beginner, right? You mentioned creatine, right? Which I want you to expand on why, or from the mental point of view, why that is important, and then talk about other possible supplements from like advanced, like actual athletes, right? That could improve their mental state when it comes to training.
Okay, starting with if we going through supplements, first thing is water.
Right.
If you are a serious athlete is somebody who I'm thinking is competitive, pre-competitive. And if you are training 3 times a day, right? And that's not 3 hard sessions a day. You have maybe a conditioning session with cardio, you have a strength and conditioning session, you have a technical session, and if you're pushing it, you have a recovery session. So you're hitting 4 active things for the day, right? If you're doing that, you should be drinking red water, right? Your coach should be able to give you a specific calculation based on your weight and your actual sport. It might be pushing 3 liters of water for the day, right? Yeah. If you're not, what is the point of you taking any supplement after that? It don't make sense because you're grossly dehydrated. You need to be drinking this water.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we know you're drinking water,
right?
You want to be eating enough protein, ingesting enough protein, right? So now it would be fantastic if you could just eat this protein from food, right? But that is almost impossible unless you go into some Division 1 university and you on the starting on the football team and they just feeding you with steak and chicken breast and everything cooked up by a chef. It is very difficult and unfortunately expensive unless you have the chicken farm and pig farm home to get that amount of protein. Because only when I started bodybuilding did someone sit me down and say, hey, if you want to look good, if you want your muscle to look like the thing what you think it's supposed to look like, you're grossly under protein, right? Because I used to think, oh well, I eating healthy today because I had 2 eggs this morning and then I had 2 chicken breasts and then I eat a tuna in the night. I was like, killing it, I eating healthy, right? So then he told my coach, Coach Perry Jerome, who I consider the best bodybuilding coach in Trinidad, right? If you want to look good, I would say go by him. Perry can give him a cut, 15%. But if you go by him, I think that's when he told me. He's like, you need to be, for every pound of body weight that you have, you need to be ingesting 1.5 to 2 grams. This for body. This for
That's
bodybuilding.
That's supposed to, yeah.
So bodybuilding is different from other sports.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
bodybuilding is where I'm trying to pack on as much muscle as possible. The training is about what we call hypertrophy, making the muscle get bigger. To do that, you need 1.5 to 2 for a meal, right? So now when I was like, what a weight madness is this, right?
Real protein.
So that, but I was paying him real money to go and train. So I was like, right, if I pay this man real money, I'm gonna do this madness. And I started to do it, and then literally within like a month, my body had changed so drastically. And this is after doing lots of training for taekwondo and strength and conditioning, the EDPU, elite development and performance unit. I was doing all kind of things, and I thinking I eating healthy, and I was like, how come I just looking like a regular person?
Yeah.
But then when I upped the protein intake to this, my whole body was recovering. I wasn't feeling sore anymore. I'd train, I'd lift for an hour and a half, do cardio for an hour, and next day, nothing. I don't feel anything. I'm like, because I'm adequately protein.
I have a saying that I say, macronutrients influence how the body looks, and micronutrients influence how the body feels.
Yeah.
Because as you said, like if you keep calories the same and your ratios between the macronutrients, like if you start having a 65% protein, 30% carb, 5% fat versus a 65% carb, 30% protein, 5% fat, exact same calories, same person, your body is going to look drastically different based on Sorry, go ahead.
After those two basics, right? Next most important supplement would be creatine. Most studied of the supplements, and it has so many benefits. First of all, it improves the amount of energy the muscles have, so that when you go to work out and your body's filled with has its maximum amount of creatine, exercises that you used to fail on, you no longer fail on. So it allows you to increase the intensity of the workout, right? So that's the first benefit. Second, it allows you to recover faster, right? If I say something wrong, you can tell me, right?
Yep.
It allows you to recover faster for the next workout. Third, it allows the muscle cells themselves to hold more water, right? So now this is where it becomes a little bit aesthetic and a little performance, right? So a lot of times people talk about, oh, the creatine making you hold water, right? And we talk about holding water as being bad, because if you hold water, it could look puffy and it wouldn't look as shredded, right? But holding water and your muscle cells having more water is two different things. So when your muscle cell has more water in it, the muscle and the body of the muscle looks more full. So it looks bigger, right? Because the muscle has more, the muscle compartment has more water in it, so it's fuller. So it's it has a more aesthetic shape, right? And then after that, we go to the cognitive benefits, right? So if you're loaded on creatine, if you're taking your 5 to 10 milligrams,
No, grams.
5 to 10 grams.
Yeah.
If you're taking your 5 to 10 grams of creatine a day, what it ends up doing is one, making sure your brain recovers from injury very quickly, right? So especially for people who are in sports where they are getting impact to the head, right? It helps with recovery of that, and also just helps your overall cognition. Some people who not even doing a sport, taking creatine to help them with concentration, with their ADHD. So I would say those are the top four. Last little piece would be omega fatty acids. I would say, making sure you have your omega-3s high dose. It helps with controlling cholesterol. It helps with controlling just the triglycerides and overall transportation of the things that you're eating, getting them into the right places in your body. It helps with overall mental health in terms of the way you're thinking, how clear you're thinking, helps with your heart health. And so those would be the top 5 like must-haves before you go into anything fancy.
So I'll ask from your doctor, your experience, right? I want to throw nicotine onto that list. You give me your opinion on that. And I want to throw caffeine onto that list and give me your opinion. And when I say nicotine, obviously we know nicotine as smoking. So not smoking, but through, patches or whatever,
Patches.
right? And then, well, caffeine
All right.
as performance enhancer.
Okay, so I'll talk about caffeine. Great performance enhancement. It actually used to be banned by WADA, right? That's how good caffeine is.
Yep.
Right? It used to be banned by WADA, and then there's like, oh gosh, you can't take it, everybody drinking coffee, right? The concentration improvement that you get is very important, and people are like, oh, concentration helping you with performance, right? So being able to focus on the set, focus on the muscle contraction, to be on the line and be locked in to hear when the gun fire off, being just a microsecond faster, turns out, especially in terms of speed sports, to be able to help you. I'm actually not too familiar with nicotine. I know that nicotine helps with concentration. I know that back in the days, the snipers used to be smoking so that they could steady themselves to be able to take sharper shots.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I wouldn't say
that's
that
fine.
if
So
you could tell me about
no. Yeah. So nicotine, in terms of the focus, same thing. Like it basically boosts the nervous system, right? So you're more heightened. It's the parasympathetic. I can't remember which nervous system it is, but like you're basically heightened. The drawback
the
to
sympathetic.
the sympathetic, right? Thank you. The drawback to nicotine is that it's vasoconstricting, right? And when you are an athlete, right, you want to have as much blood flow into your brain and flow into your muscles, right? So people will take things like L-citrulline, L-arginine, right, to widen the blood vessels. Like there's a common ingredient in pre-workout, right? And then instead of maybe taking caffeine, you could probably take nicotine. Now, sometimes it usually depends on
the type
of sport that you're doing, because caffeine is more of a long. It has a longer half life, so it stays in your system for longer.
Very important.
Whereas nicotine is
I'll get back to that for you.
Yeah. Whereas nicotine is probably like a 5 minutes of like you're up there, you focus, and then after it tails off, it's like you're back down to a normal person. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I imagine people who use nicotine, like athletes, it might be like shooters, archery people, people who do the
curling, yeah.
People who doing like precision, non-aerobically challenging things. I feel like the nicotine and the caffeine would help them.
Yeah.
Dart throwing.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I think that would probably help them. But I'm not sure how much it will help in something that using a different kind of energy system, where you have to be performing for 2 to 3 minutes at a high intensity. When you talk about the caffeine and the half-life, I mean, that's so important because I'm doing psychiatry.
Right.
One of the questions we have to ask when people come in and they're so anxious is, and when you do the substance screen is, hey, do you drink coffee? Do you ingest caffeine? And they'll have, everything will be normal. And they'll be like, yes, I have 3 cups of coffee a day. Right? Because I woke in, I just have to stay up to maintain.
That's normal for them.
Yeah, but the half-life of caffeine is very long. And I believe it's over 12 hours, right? I think it's over 12 hours for sure. And what that's lead to is that when you drink your cup of coffee, yes, it has to be over 24 hours, because when you drink your cup of coffee, by the time you drink your second cup of coffee the next day, there's still caffeine left in your system. Yeah. So then there's be a little bit more. And then if you drink a next one, there's be a little bit more. So it kind of eventually builds up into in your system to the point where your nervous system is on edge firing all the time. So
and that affects the quality of sleep and your ability to recover. And so, like, especially with powerlifters or people in the gym, right? Pre-workout. Everybody is like, pre-workout, nobody thinks about it as like a performance enhancing drug, but it is, right? And you are, as an athlete, right? Because, we have lives and whatever, you're using pre-workout every day, right? You're training with every day until it becomes, some people cannot train without pre-workout. And I think, in my opinion, you should use pre-workout as sparingly as possible. So when you're maybe so that you just basically you do develop a tolerance. I'm not gonna give you like a scheme on which to run it, but like use pre-workout as needed and not like, hey, every time I go on train, I go and take pre-workout. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah. So when I used to do bodybuilding, I'd start pre-workout. I was like, I was very hesitant. I was like, I don't need something to help me train. I like to train.
Yeah.
Why people need something to like to want to train or whatever? Because I really like training. Just like whatever the thing is, I'd be just enjoying myself, lifting, fighting, whatever. So I'm like, what do you mean? I only need something to train.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then eventually, work and training started happening. So I coming off of a long shift. I coming off of a long shift and I used to do something dangerous, right? Where I used to come off the long shift and I used to sleep. I used to go to the gym and sleep in the car park for a little bit, like try to get 2 hours, and then kind of wobble out and be like, all right, I had to hit this, I had to this. Because I was training for competition, so
Right.
like I need to make it happen. And then after my coach realized, he'd be like, I see you park up outside for like 3 hours.
What going on with you?
Yeah, he's like, no, you need a pre-workout. So then I started using the pre-workout and I used a caffeinated one, and wow, it did give me a boost, right?
Yeah.
You know, as you work real good, boy, there's you can't see for it. It's just for me. I know.
Yeah, can't see. I did
You
see,
can't
but
see for.
yeah.
I find that does work real good. Obviously, they have other brands,
Brands that
that cheaper because it's not cost effective to buy a can see for.
Yeah, it's like $30 or something like that every time.
To do that every day.
Yeah.
But I used to feel real energized when I took it. But then it just affected my sleep a little bit. So then there are two reasons why I was using the pre-workout. Eventually, I started also using uncaffeinated pre-workout because I didn't understand that the compounds in the pre-workout that boost blood flow, right, help you get a pump while you work out, right?
Yep.
And especially if you're doing bodybuilding, a huge part of it is trying to force as much blood
into the muscle,
as possible. And so then when I train with all the pre-workout and when I would do it, I'd realize that the aesthetic of my muscle changed differently. Like it stretched more, and I think the science where it leans a little bit into bro science, but the more that stretch happened, the more my muscle would be able to increase in size once fully hydrated.
Right. Once all the other things were checked off.
Yeah.
No, so one of the things that I have wondered, right? I gave you an intro, right? We have gym owner, we have doctor, because you work in the public setting as well as you have some private stuff, right? Right. And then, well, your athlete as well, right? What is a week in your life or a day in your life usually? How do you do all of these things and still function properly, you know?
How do I do all this and function properly?
I don't
know if I function properly. I don't know. Last time Josh asked me this, I was like, somebody always vexing. But the reality is, the only way this is possible is with friends, family, and great staff. That is the way it is possible, right? I have an incredible support system from my coaches, from my admin staff, from my family. They help me do things so then I can make it happen. You know, if I try to say I just do all these things, I can't. I don't, right? And there are lots of times where I'm exhausted. I'm looking at it exhausted. I'm like, because right now I picture it, I'm working towards a goal where I can eventually, decompress and go towards the things I like to do more. And I mean, if we think about, getting to a goal, you had to work for it. You had to work for it now. And rely on delegation and support.
Yeah. So there's a segue, big segue. So fighting, right? You national captain of the taekwondo team, and then now you're a coach, right? Now I am not on the fighting scene at all, right?
Okay.
But I have been. I would. I'm willing. I Rabs, right? I've seen Rabs, I've seen like Cuff, these promotions popping up, right? Fighter pay. If you know, right, what percentage of revenue from like a Rabs event or whatever goes towards paying these fighters? And what would in Trinidad a headline fight ballpark, what would that compensation look like?
It's a hard question. All right, so let's put it this way. Um, Firstly, there are two different types of people. They have athletes and they are fighters, right?
Right.
I think an athlete is considering a sport. They want to be successful at the sport. Some of that success includes financial success.
Right.
And then they have fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Fighters want, so fighters close to athletes, they want to fight more people, win, be better. If they get compensated, that'll be helpful too.
Yeah.
Right? And then they have a next group of
Mm-hmm.
people that I'd call martial artists.
Right.
So I kind of fall in the martial artist group.
Mm-hmm.
All this will give you context to answer the question.
Right.
After,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? When I say I consider myself a martial artist, it means that I am in love with chasing the skills of the martial arts and learning and seeing more and winning and being defeated and improving and feeling my body and knowing what it could do at any point in time and just chasing the knowledge. For me, I don't need a cent from a fight, right? I want to go in and be like, boy, I wonder if I could do the thing that I was working on 3 months ago, boy. Hey, I wonder how hard his body is versus my. The question is like the ultimate game, right? The way I think about it is weird. It's a little romantic, even.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like it's the ultimate interaction between people, like to stand in front of somebody and fight them and have them be trying to use their skills and all their life experience and emotion and
Yeah.
and everything that they put time into, and they're trying to solve your system and you're trying to solve their system. For me, they have no more excitement than that. It's like the most exciting thing you could do, right? So then if they give me money for that, I'm like, cool, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why the most fun time in my life has been when I was chasing the Olympic dream and I was just traveling. I had a book bag and I was going to a gym and I was training and I was sleeping over there, and that was the most fun I was ever having because I was just getting to train all day, going to the best coaches, fighting all kind of people from
You
all
just
over.
love the game.
So it's great, right? So now, not everybody like that. Not every parent want their child to be doing that. Literally the only thing that gave me the freedom to do something like that. I mean, it might sound weird, was my dad had passed away, who I love dearly, and he passed away when like I was in medical school, right? And I was just like, so I mean, I always try to look for the pros and cons and things. I was like, okay, dad is not here. This pressure to finish medical school is off a little bit. I could double down and just lean heavy into the thing that I'm truly passionate about without having to answer to anybody. Because literally, if my father was alive at the time, he'd be like, you're going to do what? Boy, stay and finish school or whatever, right? So, I mean, it allowed me to do that, right? So now when you go into, yes, being an athlete, in order for our athletes to be recognized, we need them to, and compensated, they need compensated fairly, they do need more money, right? So now you ask me a more pointed question about RABs.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, sorry. Before you think, this is no disrespect to any other promotion at all, but I really want to say hats off to Rabs in terms of the product that you guys have created, bro.
Yeah.
As I said before, I'm not in the fighting scene, but I know Rabs and I've been to a Rabs event and it is bare vibes though. Rabs is an amazing product, so bro, y'all keep doing all your thing, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, congrats to Joshua Garcia and his team. They're doing a fantastic product, and I just feel sad / sick when I hear people have a critique for it, right? For Rabs, because the level of quality that he's bringing is unmatched. I think. Well, besides Tiana, guy bring a a hard boxing.
Yeah, Tiana,
Event.
Tiana,
Tiana went off
yeah.
for her debut, right?
Yeah.
Debut event, but the level of quality I think is very high. To do that requires a lot of investment and a lot of financial loss. And I could only imagine, yes, this is just my speculation. We had what, Rabs 9 now?
Rabs 10 probably, yeah. That is. I think I went to Rabs 9. Rabs 9 was last year, December, I believe. So it might be a Rabs 10.
Oh gosh, what the number? Rabs. What the number? Anything?
It's no number on the thing.
Oh gosh, man. Joshua. Joshua, you post I don't have the number on it, but yeah, so come out in next Rabs, you're gonna see Joshua Joshua Gonzalez compete, defend his title. But anyhow,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so they do. I could only imagine. I'd be very shocked if they were making profit. Shocked.
Yeah,
if they're making profit,
yeah,
right? Because they're trying to produce something good, a great product for the patrons, and for the fighters.
And they're doing a great job,
right? And they're doing a great job, right? So now to do that, and be making losses, it takes a lot of passion and energy and heartbreak to have people complaining, and they don't know. I almost sure they're not making money. I could be wrong. Maybe Joshua,
I will have Joshua. Joshua, time coming.
Yeah. So that's the first thing to take into consideration, right? Very few of the other promotions that I know about even give a purse. I think they give a medal, one of the China medal, a little gold and silver medal, and they get a hamper. As far as I know, right? And for the martial artists, that might be cool. They get a picture, they get a hamper, whatever. But Rabs is one of the few that I know that does do a pay, right? From what I understand, the pay could range. I hope I don't set you up here, Joshua.
You clarify when it comes.
You could clarify it for me, right? You could comment and clarify one time.
Yeah.
I think the pay for a fighter ranges from like a $700 to like a $2,000 or something like that.
Okay.
Per fight. And I think that's only for the winner.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Which, I mean, it's nice to get money when you wasn't getting money before.
I'm upset at that.
Right? Right. So now that's the first question. How I think is the lay of the land. I don't think other fight promotions are doing more unless it is something like a single fight between a next person and next person, and they come up with a contract, like how Tiana Guy versus that girl who Real Brave going on. How they set up a contract to do the $10,000.
Yeah.
I don't know the mechanics behind how that's set up. If it's sponsored or are they putting up their money? I don't know how that's work.
Bro, as I talk about that, I reached out to Tiana's management to do an interview. They haven't gotten back to me, and that's fine, right? But one of the questions I had for Tiana is like, Tiana, where you get this money from? You have 10,000 set down just to get somebody. Like, okay, all right, cool.
What was our response?
Nobody didn't respond to me.
Okay.
Yeah, the manager.
I want to know.
No, I wanted to ask that question to Tiana when I see her, but her management hasn't gotten back to me, and so management message me. Let me know.
Frankly, if I was Tiana Guy fighting anybody from Trinidad, I would have put it as $100,000 purse. Who come in to fight?
So Tiana that bad that nobody in Trinidad could step to her.
I can't imagine anyone. I've seen a few of Tiana fight, and Tiana's come and train here sometimes, right? And so like I have been training for a long time. Now I do it a little bit more for fun or whatever.
Right.
And Tiana Guy just be so locked in training.
I can see she had that intensity.
I know you ever trained with her?
No, I've never trained with her.
Yeah. Training Tiana Guy. I'm a big hardback man. Training Tiana Guy. I was trying to crack jokes.
And she probably shorter than me. I'm smaller than me.
I be trying to crack jokes, and oh gosh, I'm feeling tired. I lie down. I'm taking a stretch or whatever.
She not done that.
Tiana Guy, from the time that I rap, come on, and she put on her gloves. Her faces be locked in on what is going on, and what she doing, right? And in between rounds, she's going to sit down in the corner, and the session has she's in on the seat. She's in session,
Right.
right? And like, so you might be sparring it, ting, 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 and you do something, you make a mistake, and you laugh about it.
She not
So her face has not changed. She like her eyes locked in on you, like I'm working on something right now. And I don't care about what you doing, but I doing this thing, and I think it's really admirable. It's like it reminded me of like my old self when I was like really locked in, but it's very cool to see. And I'm not seeing any other female. I'm not seeing any other female who could do it. Maybe this girl will come and surprise us. Maybe she'll surprise us. Coach Barrett is an excellent coach. He has a huge track record, and this girl is obviously very brave, and courage is very important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. I'll definitely be there to support. In fact, I come in to support the underdog. I come in to support the underdog. I will be chanting. I will be chanting for her, right? To see if she beat Tiana. I want to chant, right? But yeah, so the next thing you had asked me, a series of questions. So the one that asked was
fighter pay, and then wherever. If we talking,
So-
there's this real,
yeah.
right? If there's oh gosh, it
Is
just
that something about finances you wanted to ask me or about?
yeah, bro. So like running a gym, right?
Yeah.
Or like opening a gym. What is the financial commitment? All right, so startup costs, right? Ballpark numbers. What would you need to start a kickboxing or a fighting gym?
Very good question, and I hope it could help a young martial artist out there. First thing, if you're an active martial artist that is trying, not martial artist, an active athlete, and you're trying to compete, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to start coaching people to make money, to be able to go away and go on my trips, etc. It's a very particular path you have to take, which is first trying to focus on individual clients that you could charge a higher rate per hour, pretty much, right? When you're doing a class, it's less money per hour and is less flexible. If you have personal clients, you could do one-on-ones at any time, so they'll be more forgiving if you do end up having to travel, right? Avoid starting teaching classes altogether because groups of people aren't as forgiving when you need to leave. Especially if they paid a monthly subscription,
Yeah.
it becomes a little bit tricky to account for time lost. So take that into consideration. Now, bear cost, the actual money involved here. Start from scratch and start now with nothing, right? Offer a once a week free session. Meet me by the savannah. Meet me by this park. Everybody come. We go in and you don't need any equipment because this is free. You're using your hands as pads. You're teaching techniques in the air. You're teaching stance. You're teaching the basics. You're doing some calisthenics. And you're trying to figure out how to work on your communication skills, how to make your class fun, how to retain people in a free session, right? Because if you can't retain them for free, you can't retain them for pay.
Yeah.
Right? So now the step up from that, which I have been observing from the ITF community, which has been doing so much good work. I see they opened their 40th ITF Taekwondo school, I think this month, right? Which is, I don't think there's another sport association that could make a claim like that, right? What I've seen from, because I'm following closely, is that they kind of really promote their athletes to open their own schools, right? Which is very different from other disciplines. A lot of times, egos are involved in combat sports, and it's like, well, I train, use my athletes, and you in my gym, and we together here building Edson Breedy Athletics, right? Whenever I talk to my athletes, I'm like, hey, I'd love if you all stay and help me continue the vision, but I care about the sport of Taekwondo and what it could do for people. I care about martial arts and what it could do for people. If you want to open a school at a certain point in time, let us have a conversation and I'll give you the building blocks to do it. And the building blocks that I've seen would be, one, finding a very low cost facility, like a community center, and starting off with a 1 day, 1 class a week setup. minimal equipment, so your rent and overhead is very low, and you're just going back and forth with the equipment. It'll be great if you could store something there, and that'll be the first step in terms of you getting social media content, starting to build a little administrative system, and just getting experience with coaching, having people know your name and that they could recommend you, right? After that, and you have a nice big 20, 30 person group of people, you can decide, hey, it's time to now expand to maybe multiple days a week at that same community center first. You have to really gradually increase these expenses and try to avoid making big jumps in infrastructure that you mightn't be able to back up, right? At the end of the day, as far as I could tell, coaching martial arts, coaching fitness is not very financially rewarding, right? It can be rewarding to your spirit, to help, to the community, to the country, to the health of the nation, right? And if you care about those things, anybody who knows me knows that I care about those things, right? Then it's okay, right? So you have to know within yourself, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this because you need money for your family to pay the light bill? Because if you do not, you're setting yourself up for some stress, right? You might not be able to. I mean, you know who you should interview? You need to interview Professor Don Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know, I would love to see that interview. In fact, I would love if I could talk to Professor Don Jacob, because he has really made an amazing system.
100. I used to do martial arts.
I used to be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like the following he's created, the system he's created, the infrastructure, I need to understand how he's done it. In fact, if you did a paid course, sir, I would pay my money to come and listen to. I would pay money to listen to how he did it, because if I'm not mistaken, and he's from Trinidad and Tobago, I think he might have the biggest martial arts school in the world. I think it is
definitely
likely.
Caribbean. Definitely Caribbean for sure. Because you have people having in the US, you have all over. Yeah.
I don't know many other brands of martial arts school that have.
That's true, you know what I said.
Yeah. All in all these continents, you know. And to build the level of respect and dedication that he has from his athletes, I would love to understand how he's done it. You know, I think that would be a very valuable interview.
Yeah.
If you could do it.
If
you need me to come and hold the camera while there, right, I will do it, right? So him, and then, you know, when I look at Gregory Seals and movement mechanics, he's one of the other few coaches I've seen that has become, it appears to be financially successful from the outside of strength and conditioning. I don't know if it's been from strength and conditioning that he's been able to do it, but he's performing at a very high level. He has the best equipment, as far as I could tell, like first world Division 1 level Kaiser machine, power plate, platforms, reverse hyperextension bench. He has everything I think you need to become like a really good athlete. I think to be doing that, he has to be doing well financially, right? So there are people, find somebody who's a mentor who's doing well and ask them for advice. Look for a mentor. You know, there are people who've been doing this for a long time. Ask them for advice on how you could do it, right? So I think that would be the steps on setting it up. And then from there on, just do it one piece at a time. Yeah, so there's no one specific course.
Yeah.
Think about the item that you can get that will give you the most leverage. I think probably right now in 2026, the most leverage would come from a good phone, so that you can show your story, right? Because you could have the best gloves and mitts at your gym, and nobody knows that, and nobody knows you. And then what's the point of that? So a good phone, so you can capture your classes, your preparation beforehand. I think that's how you would go about setting up a school or martial arts or strength and conditioning facility now.
Lovely. And so my final question, right, would be, how would the average person differentiate between a competent coach and one who isn't?
Great question, difficult question, right? Maybe I'd have to answer this from different hats.
Okay.
The doctor in me would say, go and ask this coach before joining, do some research, like if you're researching a doctor, and find out what has this coach done, what's their profile like, who have they coached, what level they've reached, how competitively, what athletes are under their belt currently.
Sorry.
Right?
So you said something. I wanted to answer. Remember that, right? But this question: does a coach's own success, right, translate to fighter success that they train?
It's a factor, not the factor, but it's something to consider.
Okay.
Yeah. So do a little background research, just like if it's research in the cardiologist you have to go to, right? So you've done your background research. Now, when you go to the person, ask them questions. Hey, when is the last time somebody get injured in class? How many people? Anybody have injuries right now? Talk to the people in class and be like, anybody have any injuries? And if everybody is like, yeah, my knee hurts, my ankle, and everyone's like, what's going on here? Why are all of your athletes injured? You know, that's a real good test, right? The mental health part of me would say to be very interested in the style of coaching in terms of the power dynamic that happens between a coach and an athlete. It's very separate, right? The coach knows all, does all, his words are final, right? And you need to see how he uses that power. Is he using condescension, punishment, humiliation as his way to control people? Is he using language that builds people up from scratch to help them become better people? Is he understanding why they are having a deficit? When he's giving feedback, is his feedback, you need to do that better. You need to do that faster. You're not doing that good. That is bad feedback.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow you to do anything besides feel bad about yourself. If your coach is telling you, you need to turn your hip over, your ankle needs to rotate out a little bit, your feet are about 3 inches too wide, that is signs that you might have a competent coach who can deliver information, right? Because the problem comes sometimes where very good athletes don't make good coaches because they were natural athletes. When they joined the team, they could already run fast and jump high, so they never really had to learn how to jump. They never had to learn how to do the things. Coach used to tell them, do this, and they do it.
Just do it.
So now when they're telling somebody to do the skill, they say, well, just do it. Why not doing it?
No,
do it
right.
good. Do it.
You're
Why
right.
not doing it good?
You
need to go home and learn how to do it good.
Yeah.
Because they could not do it good, so they never worked from scratch from
That's
people.
a real good point.
Right? So being good sometimes is actually a handicap, right?
Yeah.
And maybe a good question to ask is, how many of the athletes who are performing well that are under the current portfolio came from somewhere else, right? Because a lot of times athletes don't have the loyalty in Trinidad to stay with the club that they're with, right? I think it's a worldwide problem, probably, you know, because especially if you're an athlete chasing greatness.
Yep.
And there's a point in time where you with your coach, he trained you from scratch, you couldn't run properly, you couldn't jump a foot off the ground, and this person getting you to like fight, win, be at amateur level, go up to elite level, and then at this point in time you say, nah boy, that next man, he have the cool punching bags. Them punching bags real cool, and he have mirror and light and thing. I want to go there and make my social media content, and I switch gyms. So now everybody who could already box or run or whatever,
Go into-
go into this next place because it's looking cooler, it making their persona cooler,
Yeah.
but the gym not really get you there, have dirty mats and it grimy and it's hardy, but that's where you learn. That's where you learn the thing.
My brother, I ain't gonna call your name, but you know what he's saying is true. I ain't gonna call your name, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Yeah, so try to understand who's been there very long, You know, as you talking to the athletes will really help you really understand the coach. How long have you been training here? A month? Because you're watching somebody, you might walk in and see somebody, they do all kind of things. It's like, oh wow, I want to be like you. And then you're like, how long you training in this club, boy? I was like, oh yeah, I here 2 months now. I was like, wait. I was like, but how long you training? 20 years. 20 years I training. I was like, oh okay, yeah, I come from Venezuela. I was training in Cuba for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay, right, okay, I get it.
Right,
I understand what's
yeah.
happened there, right? So talking to the athletes and finding out their experience, having a coach who can explain why they're doing the drill. This is my last one. I ended off on this, right? So a lot of times coaches come in with minimal preparation. There's no micro, meso, macro cycle planned out, right? They coming in and it's like, you know what you're gonna do today? You're gonna do a ladders.
Yeah.
You do some ladders. They like the ladders, you know. And then we go do some bar work and then some sparring. Everybody loves sparring, right? And that's the plan. You know, everybody will feel happy. They feel excited. But there is no skill development plan for this week, for the month, for the next 3 months, for the year, taking into consideration competition dates and any kind of milestone. So asking them, hey, you know, how come we working on this today? I know last week we was working on roundhouse kick, but now all of a sudden we doing ground and pound today, and we didn't really get to finalize that skill and ask and just see how they respond. See if they could be like, well, actually, you know, I prefer to actually diversify the skills so that you don't get overloaded. You know, if you can give you a rational response,
Right, yeah, then it could
that's a good idea. But if he's just like, my way is the highway, you ask me too many questions, muscle confusion is the way to get you better, and you need to perform under pressure, right? That might be a red flag that your coach might not be up to the standard that you need, right? So I'll end with that one. I mean, there are a few others, you know, but that'll be some real important ones that you could do on your preliminary investigation of your first week in training, your trial week. You know? Yeah.
I want to give you the opportunity to give some final words about maybe any potential businesses, any opportunities at the gym you're having, just to, you know, promote yourself. And
hey, thanks so much for that. I would say, guys, check out my Instagram and website. You can find me on Instagram at Edson Breedy Athletics. You could find our website, edsonbreedyathletics.co. It has a list of all the classes and services we offer, ranging from the bottom, if you have an injury, physiotherapy, going up to massage therapy, hopefully developing you enough to go into a flexibility class, going into a yoga class, feeling more confident, going into our strength and conditioning circuit. Then if you're feeling it, you could go into a combat sport, taekwondo, boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? We prepare athletes for competition. We prepare people for the world by allowing them to learn how to deal with failure and adversity in our classes. So this is especially important for kids so that they could deal with the world using sport as that leveraging point, you know. So check us out online. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
Not a problem.
It was a privilege to talk to you.
Really, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Dungeon Talks with Dr. Edson Breedy. And hope you guys learned something, and yeah, catch you in the next one. Later.